Hi. So I want to talk about initiation, and I am not an expert on initiation, but um, so okay, I this isn't a new revelation or a new idea that I'm having. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, on and off. And so, well, I mentioned this in another video, but when, like I always say, things start happening with me, about it was actually about 3 months into things happening in 2014, 13. And I had this thing happen with my arm and my thumb. It was like a nerve thing. And my boss, I couldn't move my arm and stuff. And, it was just a thing. And my boss had a woman who gave her this girl who gave her massages. And had her come to my house to give me a massage. And this girl she was very cool. And the thing was, and I mentioned this in the other video, I said, I was all freaked out because other stuff had been happening, and my arm was a part of it. And that sounds weird, but whatever. And she said to me, I was seeking the truth, and all this stuff is happening to me. And long story short, and she said, and I told her a lot of the stuff that had been happening to me, and she said, you're being initiated, or you've had an initiation. And then she said, believe it or not, you'll miss it when it's gone. And it never left me anyway. And she's actually the person who gave me the book about Teresa of Avila, entering the castle. But anyway, so I read this book, recently, right after Christmas, that I bought, The Secret History of the World. It's an interesting book, and he talks a lot about initiation. So secret societies, mystery schools. When you say secret societies, then anyway, you have to do your own research and actually educate yourself about that stuff. And if you're interested, then you will. If you're not, then you won't. You'll just, I don't know, whatever. But if you educate yourself about it and kind of seek and search, then you can find more of the truth about that stuff than like what the shock and awe, Illuminati kind of whatever stuff is. But the initiation is real. And he talks about humans initiating other humans. And so you can also have an initiation that isn't by a human. That's what happens. That's what I've experienced. And you know what? It's more than that. And it does have to do with like Jesus. It has to do with Jesus and I'm not just turning it into like whatever. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you understand what I'm trying to say. Like, there is more. There's like esoteric stuff, and it's real. And you could be living in Los Angeles in a studio apartment in Echo Park like I was, and seek the truth and have a bunch of crazy, ancient, mysterious stuff happen to you. And fine if you're watching this and you think that's a bunch of bullshit or whatever. I experienced this in my life, so I'm anyway. I so I read that. So I've been thinking for a long time about like the initiation, and thinking like, well, because they talk about how people initiate you into these things, these ancient mystery school things, and no person did for me. It was all the other. And I was just reading this book called, it sounds crazy, but it's called the Giza Death Star. But don't judge it by that title. It's actually really interesting and technical. And there's this paragraph, I wrote it down because he's talking all about this stuff. It's about the Great Pyramid, by the way. And that's a huge part of like seeking truth for anyone on planet Earth, because the pyramids are such a huge mystery. And there weren't tombs, and what they were is being, anyway, if you're seeking, you already, whatever, that's a thing. I went through wanting to know about that, and a lot of people do. And anyway, but there's this paragraph where he's before it, he was talking about like all of the really super technical things, pilot waves and superluminal carriers and cohered electromagnetic and gravito-acoustic waves to target via. I mean, so like it's not a stupid book. And so he said that. So after all of this, his like scientific reasoning for what I guess his hypothesis, he says, that being said, the technical jargon is there not for a technical reason, but for a mystical one. And he put mystical in quotes, as it were. It is there, like the pyramid itself, to initiate into a mystery. And initiation always implies some degree of mental retraining, modifying existing concepts by rearranging them in new relationships, and of re-examining and revitalizing older, outmoded notions. Then he says, this was accordingly a difficult book to arrange or to sequence properly. But my interest is in that paragraph about initiation, because when I read that, and I was just reading this as like the thing is, I take most everything with a grain of salt. Like, I read a lot of stuff, and I watch things, and I'm very rarely like, oh my gosh, that's the thing. I'm never actually like the thing. But when I read that, I thought, what I've thought for a long time anyway, also in the back of my mind, and not anyway, haven't shared it with any physical human being, or is that that's what's happening to me. Mental retraining, modifying existing concepts by rearranging them in new relationships, and re-examining and revitalizing older, outmoded notions in your brain, like in your mind, in your thought processes. Because for me anyway, that's where it's all happening. And it's a thing, and you know, whatever. There's so much more to it than that, obviously. You know, and I'm not trying to teach anything or whatever. I'm just sharing something. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say about initiation. It's a thing. It's real. And it can happen. It can happen without like a human secret society doing it. It can just happen to a Yahoo like me. Or you. Alright, bye.